In 1941, while Europe burned and armies clashed across continents, one man decided he wanted to fight Hitler, but not with a gun. His name was Juan Pujol García, a soft-spoken poultry farmer from Barcelona, Spain. He had no military background, no intelligence training, and no connections. But he had one weapon the war didn't expect: imagination. Juan wasn't a soldier. He was a dreamer. He believed lies could be deadlier than bullets if told the right way. And so, in the middle of the greatest conflict the world had ever known, he set out to become a spy. There was just one problem. No one wanted him. He first walked into the British embassy in Madrid, offering his services to fight Nazi Germany through espionage. They laughed him out the door. "Go home," they told him. "You're not spy material." But Juan didn't give up. He went straight to the enemy instead. Using fake papers and nothing but confidence, he walked into the German embassy, claiming to be a loyal Nazi supporter who wanted to spy on Britain. The Germans bought it. They gave him invisible ink, secret codes, and cash, and told him to travel to London to build a network of informants. But there was one catch. Juan had never been to London. He didn't even speak English. So instead of actually going to Britain, he stayed in Lisbon, Portugal, and began to invent an entire army of fake British spies from his imagination. Every message he sent to the Germans was fiction, meticulously crafted, filled with fake reports about troop movements, naval convoys, and government operations, and the Germans believed every word. They called him Arabelle. To them, he was one of their best agents. In reality, he was sitting in a hotel room writing make-believe reports, using English newspapers and travel guides. He was a spy for the Nazis, but secretly he was already preparing to betray them all. By 1942, Juan Pujol García, codenamed Arabelle by the Germans, had become one of the Abwehr's, Nazi intelligence, most trusted spies. His reports were detailed, accurate-sounding, and full of names, schedules, and locations that felt real. In reality, every word was a lie, but his lies were brilliant. Juan had crafted an entire fictional spy network of over 20 agents across Britain, none of whom existed. He gave them names, personalities, even backstories: a Welsh nationalist, a Venezuelan sailor, a theatre critic in Glasgow, and a British civil servant with access to secret files. Each agent wrote regular reports to him, and he relayed their information to Berlin. To make his deception believable, he even created small mistakes on purpose. Minor inaccuracies that made his reports feel human. When German intelligence corrected him, they felt clever, which made them trust him even more. The genius of his operation was not just what he said, but what he didn't. He'd often report real Allied movements, but too late to be useful, so the Germans believed he was truly embedded in Britain. Soon his intel began reaching the highest levels of Nazi command, and when his fake reports matched random real-world events, they were convinced they had a gold mine in Agent Arabelle. Then something unbelievable happened. The British MI5, who had once dismissed him, started intercepting his fake Nazi messages. They realized someone was fooling the Germans and doing it perfectly. So instead of exposing him, they made a decision that would change the war. They brought him in. Britain officially recruited him under a new codename, Agent Garbo, a nod to actress Greta Garbo, because, as one MI5 officer said, he's the greatest actor in Europe. Now, Agent Garbo was a double agent, feeding lies to the Germans, truth to the Allies, and helping to weave the most elaborate web of deception in wartime history. He was so effective that MI5 gave him a full team: handlers, typewriters, maps, and intelligence cables. Together, they began coordinating his reports with real Allied movements, not to help the Germans, but to shape their beliefs. And soon, the Allies would use Agent Garbo's lies to pull off one of the greatest tricks in military history. Operation Fortitude, the plan to fool Hitler about where D-Day would strike. By 1944, Juan Pujol García, now Agent Garbo, had become one of the most trusted spies in the entire German network. He wasn't just another agent anymore. Berlin saw him as indispensable. The Abwehr considered Garbo's reports so critical that Hitler himself read them. That's right. A man who had never set foot in Britain had the ear of the Führer. But Garbo's true allegiance lay with the Allies. And now the British had a daring idea, a deception so audacious that if it failed, the D-Day invasion would collapse before it even began. The plan was called Operation Fortitude, its goal to make Hitler believe the Allies would invade Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. In other words, Garbo would help convince the entire German command that the real invasion was actually a fake one, and the fake invasion was real. MI5 created an entire phantom army to support his story, a fictional first U.S. Army group led by none other than General George S. Patton. They built fake tanks out of rubber wooden planes and dummy camps visible to German reconnaissance aircraft. They even broadcasted fake radio chatter, thousands of transmissions between divisions that didn't exist. And through it all, Garbo fed the lies straight into Hitler's desk. In his reports, he described troop build-ups, fuel shortages, and logistical challenges in southern England. He even detailed the morale of soldiers waiting to invade Calais. Soldiers that didn't exist. The Germans bought every word. When D-Day finally came, June 6, 1944, and the Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy, Garbo sent another report to his German handlers. The main invasion has not yet begun. Normandy is merely a diversion, and the Nazis believed him. They kept panzer divisions stationed in Calais for over 7 weeks, waiting for an attack that never came. Those precious weeks saved the Allied advance in France. By the time Hitler realized he'd been deceived, it was too late. The Allies had already broken through, and the end of the war was sealed. For his bravery, Germany awarded Garbo the Iron Cross. And not to be outdone, Britain awarded him the MBE, Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, 2 medals from 2 opposing sides for the same mission. Juan Pujol García, the man who never fired a bullet, had outsmarted Hitler himself and helped win World War II with nothing more than lies and imagination. When the war finally ended, Juan Pujol García, Agent Garbo, was a hero to both sides. The Allies credited him with saving tens of thousands of lives. The Germans, completely unaware they'd been played, still considered him a loyal soldier of the Reich. But Garbo wasn't celebrating. The lies that had saved the world had also consumed his life. Every letter, every report, every coded transmission had blurred the line between the truth and the illusion he created, and he feared one thing above all else: revenge. If the Nazis discovered who he really was, there would be no hiding. So Garbo made a decision that no one expected. In 1949, he faked his own death. He told everyone, even his family, that he had died of malaria in Angola. Fake death certificate, fake witnesses, and then he disappeared. For the next 30 years, the world believed Juan Pujol García was gone forever. No one knew he was living quietly under a new identity in a small town in Venezuela, running a bookstore and raising chickens. The man who had fooled Hitler was now selling paperbacks to tourists. Then, in the early 1980s, a British journalist named Nigel West began digging into declassified MI5 files. He found something strange: the records of a Garbo who had never officially died. Following a trail of forgotten clues, West finally tracked him down and came face to face with the legend himself. Alive, older, and still humble. Garbo laughed when West told him that his lies had helped win the war. He said quietly, "I only did what I thought was right, to stop the killing." Before his real death in 1988, Garbo visited Normandy Beach. He stood on the same sand his deception had protected decades earlier. No fanfare, no crowds, just the wind, the sea, and the ghosts of the men who never knew the part he'd played. Juan Pujol García, the man who never fired a gun, remains one of the most remarkable figures of World War II. A farmer turned fake spy, a liar who saved lives, and a ghost who helped end a global war.